What's going on, folks? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review Jeezy's 2006 album, The Inspiration. Now, basically, this came out at the end of 2006, and Jeezy had had a pretty large year with the Can't Ban the Snowman mixtape, cresting off of Thug Motivation 101 from 2005 a bunch, and then I think he even dropped the mixtape a month before he put out The Inspiration in late 2006. So he had a pretty large year. He was definitely one of the faces of rap and dirty South music in 2006. Him, Lil Wayne, and T.I. were all central figures around that time, and just about everything Jeezy did kind of had like the Midas touch, where he just was kind of necessarily charting left and right, getting on hit songs, having good moments and that type of stuff, and just the overall kind of slick factor that kind of between like his snowman image and that type stuff. But really, the thing about it is a lot of people say when you get like such a high selling debut, which Thug Motivation 101 got 6 singles practically, a lot of promotion, Soul Survivor, My Hood, Trap Star, and Then What. Uh, there's a couple other ones, Go Crazy, and then like one other one. So there's just Trap or Die. So that's just kind of the concept. There's a lot of promotion on Thug Motivation 101. People kind of wondered, okay, without Akon, without like some of the initial bravado that he had, could he do it again? And, Jeezy, for the most part, basically managed to do it. I mean, it may not have the surprise factor of Thug Motivation 101, but it definitely is a worthy sequel and has a lot of great things about it. In some cases, it's slicker. It has just an edgier production than the first one had, or at least Thug Motivation 101 had. And I would have to say, even if like the singles are not quite as poignant and he didn't really promote this project nearly as far as he could have, I still feel like in some cases there are some true moments that just have a real kind of creepy eeriness. Like you can tell by the album color with its like kind of faded mint green kind of tint to it, that it just has like a real eerie and kind of haunting kind of vibe. A lot of this is trap music. It is still rooted in dirty South trap music, but it's 2000s trap. And on top of that, it just has like a particular kind of ghastliness that's just interesting, just because I don't remember like Thug Motivation 101 being quite this creepy. I mean, when you look at records like My Hood, really wasn't like that. Soul Survivor kind of was, but it had like the gloss with Akon. Trap Star really wasn't that creepy. Like the song for the ladies was Slick Pole. I forget what that one's called. I think it's called Tear It Up. That wasn't that creepy. And there just were a number of ones. It just feels like this kind of has like a more aghast feeling towards it. Songs like Go Getta and Hypnotize, definitely 3 a.m. and Streets on Lock. I Got Money. I mean, a lot of these is really, in Jeezy especially. So a lot of these just have a real kind of oozing kind of feeling about it. I really appreciated it. And it just kind of gives it like an extra mean tint, considering that trap music can sometimes be pigeonholed into just kind of like one singular minded type stuff. But the 3 singles, there were 3 kind of short, but because Jeezy had so many singles last time, that's exceptional. Just because you really were getting like a good 10 or so Jeezy songs just within a year and a half if you count the previous album. So the first single is "I Love It," which is produced by DJ Toomp. Great single, great easy song on the radio. This is one that charted really high. This is kind of one of the ones where at first folks may have thought Jeezy wasn't going to do it, and then this song came out and completely knocked everyone's socks off. And this has a real mellow kind of hook, this easy kind of chantable, and just the beautiful thing about it is Jeezy managed to do this song without any help from like Akon or a hook artist or an R&B singer or someone like that. He just made this song entirely by himself. It charted extremely high. It's pretty much one of Jeezy's most recognizable beats, and I definitely, it's another good thing that he hooked up with DJ Toomp, because he used to produce for T.I. and other folks around Atlanta and that type of stuff. So it's just an overall great hit. The signature 2000s rap in a lot of ways, southern rap in that sort of sense. And then Jeezy followed it up on the second single with Go Getta. This is another hit single. This was another surprise. I wasn't expecting this single to chart as high, but he was 2 for 2 with this. Go Getta has a really kind of excellent hook by R. Kelly on there, and it just has a real kind of nightmarish and kind of glimmering, ghoulish kind of feel towards it. The beat just really pounds. It's a real kind of up tempo, just flashy, nightmarish kind of song. And It just talks about going out and getting it, basically a go getter, but just go get and it's just kind of that sort of concept. So it's about getting money, but it does it in a flashy kind of way, almost in like a flirty sense. Also, it's just a good overall song, 1-2 punch there. But the problem with it is after that, the album kind of took like a departure because I was expecting Jeezy to kind of go a second round and have a whole cache of singles that probably would have promoted this album well into it, but he kind of cut the album short by putting out Dreamin' instead. And really the thing about it was after this album's promotion came out, he directly followed up this project with the USDA album Cold Summer. So it kind of felt like he couldn't really promote two projects at once. Maybe he could have, but he didn't. So he just chose to cap off the production or the promotion of this project with Dreamin' with Keisha Cole. And I really feel like way too kind of sentimental and kind of simmering and kind of like a kind of sensitive kind of way. It's surprising that Jeezy kind of did this song. I wouldn't have expected it from him anywhere before this, but I really it's kind of more of a sentimental song that I could see myself listening to too much. I just couldn't really. I mean, it's a connectable song. It has like its emphasis, but it's really kind of starry-eyed and just more starry-eyed than most a little bit too starry eyed in that kind of sense. And it's just kind of, it just feels kind of like a more song for maybe like the younger set and that type stuff. But I probably would have went with for this third single. I would have definitely said Jeezy would have been a great one. Jeezy liked to drink, Jeezy liked to smoke. That just that's such a quick paced, great kind of feeling of a song that just really kicks ass and has a whole bout of just energy towards it. It's definitely one of the most energetic and frenetic songs. I just wasn't expecting that from Jeezy. Just really kind of like a burst of energy out of nowhere. I would have chosen that one for the third single. I definitely think it would have charted. Maybe I would have chosen the Timbaland song, but that just felt like too easy considering Timbaland was kind of really charting around that time. But I would have went with Jeezy. That to me is about the only really other single that I could have seen on this whole album is just Jeezy. So but yeah, he went with Dreamin'. It lost the energy. It didn't really chart high at all. It kind of charted at like the tail end of the rap only chart. So that was it. Then he moved on to Cold Summer with White Girl and the USDA crew, and that was how that went. But so there is quite a bit to talk about on this project, and especially if you get the deluxe edition, which has two extra tracks called "I Do This" and "Hood Rat." Which I don't remember those songs that well. I mean, I remember Hood Rat, but I don't remember I Do This. I feel like I Do This is, yeah, I Do This has a real kind of plodding, thumping beat that just really kicks ass. It just really feels like a kind of song on the go where you're not at the house, not so much backyard or kind of house party kind of session, but just kind of on the go and just out places, basketball games and stuff like that. And Hood Rat really has a menacing kind of energy to talk about that. That I've always liked that song by Jeezy. It's just a great song. Has 3 6 Mafia and Project Pat on there. DJ Paul and Juicy J did a fantastic job with the beat. It suits Jeezy real well. All four of them just do excellent all throughout that song. That's easily one of Jeezy's most distinct songs from like the 2000s decade. This should have been I feel like I'm not sure if like this deluxe edition is packaged with the album. In some cases, I'm thinking about purchasing the deluxe edition, but I definitely would want it just for this song. It's just that good. It's just really that kind of emphasis upon it. But there are some other hits on here. Like I said, Jeezy has a real kind of frenetic energy that's just one of the quick pace and just most ferocious kind of just gets you amped and energized and excited kind of feel, kind of like Go Getta does. I feel like 3 a.m. is a brilliant topic, great idea, just great 3 a.m. party type song, just stepping out and getting some bitch in the parking lot, that type stuff, just easy kind of going with that. And I Got Money is a pretty haunting song. I really feel like that one and Hypnotize really have some of the glimmering kind of spookiness that I was surprised that Jeezy went into the avenue of doing, considering he could have just went with some standard kind of hustler trap anthems and called it a day. But there are some of those. I mean, the Realist and Streets Unlocked kind of yeah, like Streets Unlock and The Realist are kind of more street oriented songs. I definitely like the kind of mellow but still kind of out and about kind of feel Streets Unlock. I easily felt like this could have been a front yard kind of house party kind of song, just the way it just feels like you're on your street, just kind of enjoying the time, have a beer in the hand, that type stuff, a swisher, something like that. And Still on It is kind of, I really like the production on Still on It. Just has a lot of beeps and blurps and chirps and that type of stuff, but it really works pretty well. Just the emphasis how that kind of went is kind of a nice one. And Mr. 17.5 was kind of a soulful one. I was surprised that Jeezy kind of did this. It just was strange to kind of get that out of him. It was kind of similar to Go Crazy, but just kind of did it in like the same emphasis. This kind of real soulful, just kind of wind blowing in your hair, kind of eyes open, just appreciating things. This is kind of more of an example of a starry-eyed song that just works better, or not quite, where you're yearning for something, but just kind of, you just feel good. It's just a feel good kind of song, and it's good to get Jeezy kind of doing those. And Yeah, so that's about some of the concept behind that. So I'll go ahead and list the 13 songs out of 18 I recommend to you before I do the rest of the review. So I Do This on the deluxe, Hood Rat on the deluxe, Hypnotize, Jeezy, I Love It, Go Getta, 3 a.m., Bury Me a G, I Got Money, Still on It, The Realist, Mr. 17.5, and Streets on Lock. So that's 13 of them. Bury Me a G is another great one that just is kind of haunting, just because it talks about what would happen if Jeezy got assassinated when he was out in public by some haters and that type of stuff. So it's a clever idea, real kind of clever concept as far as that kind of went. I appreciated that one. It definitely, I mean, because that's the concept about some of these haters, just paying attention to people like PNB Rock and some of the recent folks that have kind of dealt with that assassination of character and just in general assassination. This kind of has that sort of situation. But it's kind of like when Biggie predicted that with his song My Downfall. It's kind of the same concept. It's just an entertaining song. And but to talk about some of the ones I didn't enjoy, I felt like the Inspiration, Follow Me, and then Dreamin' were both trying to be like these kind of starry eyed and just motivational and kind of a little bit sappy of a way kind of type songs. And I felt like Keep It Gangsta was a bad Posse song. Just really the beat was kind of a little bit too triumphant for my taste. I feel like USDA has had better songs together. Plenty of examples of that are on the Can't Ban the Snowman mixtape. I was really surprised that Jeezy didn't give these guys, considering that he was getting ready to promote them with an album, a better song to kind of get them ready for what was going to happen 6 months later. But it just didn't really turn out that way. And You Know What It Is really had one of the weakest beats on the whole album. Couldn't really get into that one. And Yeah, there was another song I didn't enjoy, but just to kind of talk about some of those, What You Talking About was kind of another one that just was, yeah, What You Talking About just was trying to, I don't know, I just didn't really appreciate the instrumentation in that one. I felt like maybe it was just that's another one that was probably more triumphant than it probably needed to be. I mean, some of these have like a lot of bravado to them, but I feel like it doesn't quite suit Jeezy enough when he's like a little bit too exuberant more than it probably should be. But I mean, Jeezy's kind of a peppy dude when it comes to hustle. I mean, I've seen just on songs like the Boys in the Hood album, and it's not like it's a bad thing about that pep to your step, but it's just kind of, I feel like I feel like the production doesn't quite match the energy as far as making it emphasize where you would want to be, supposedly up at 6 a.m. like when Jeezy is, or 8 a.m., or just some time where you're getting ready to get on the grind and stuff. So this is kind of the concept, so, but yeah, just to once again talk about some real good heavy hitters that just have immediate kind of energy and are just great party singles. I feel like Jeezy, Go Getta, 3 a.m., I Got Money, and there's like one other one I'm thinking like Hypnotize. Yeah, Hypnotize. All those are great kind of emphasize songs just to immediately go for and just kind of have like a nice front yard party, that type of stuff. Red cups, red plastic cups, that type of stuff. Get some Smirnoff, some of those type things. Just easy kind of going just to kind of kick off things and have that sort of fun. It's just a great evaluation. But me liking 13 out of 18, I'm going to go ahead and give this album 13 out of 18, or 11 out of 16 minus like the two deluxe editions, 11 out of 16 or 13 out of 18. I would say About an 8. I'm gonna give this project an 8 because I feel like if I would have liked 2 more songs, it would have been a 9, 9.5. I'm just gonna give it a solid 8. I feel like that's pretty fucking good just to be able to talk about 13 out of 18 on the deluxe and 11 out of 16. That's about 2/3 of the project, or 3/4. That's about 3/4. So that's really about 3/4 of the project, a little less than 3/4. So it's about an 8 out of 10. The social score I will give like a 6.5 out of 10 because it had two bona fide singles on there with Go Get It and I Love It. Both great energy, good pacing. But I just felt like Dreamin' just did not carry the energy that it needed to really cap off this project. It kind of left you hanging with just something to just kind of keep at it and keep, stay on your grind and keep dreaming, that type atmosphere, and it just didn't really have like the correct atmosphere that it really needed to. I mean, it was good that Jeezy kind of went with White Girl on the USDA album after this because it just would have been a little bit too much of a cliffhanger to go from the last single he dropped, Dreamin', to the promotion for the Recession with Put On and some of those type records. It was just kind of like, but you know, that was just kind of the thing. So I would have, like I said, I would have chosen the song Jeezy as like the third single, but it didn't. So this is kind of the concept. But in terms of the future, I would say like Jeezy is getting ready very soon to drop like his Snowfall mixtape. I'm interested in how that's going to go. Eventually, I will review that. Is Jeezy and DJ Drama back on their bullshit, their classic ways of being able to put out mixtapes? Hopefully, this one kicks ass. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with it. But that's what's up with Jeezy these days, and this is a pretty rock solid project. So